Hello, and welcome to Eiken Pre-1 practice. Today, we'll focus on the first part of the interview. Last time, we reviewed the overall structure and key points. Today, let's put that to use. Follow along. Remember this? According to our topic, our story today is about a married couple who moved into a large new condominium. We will begin with the first sentence as stated on the card. One day, a married couple was in their small, old apartment. Now, let's look at the first picture. What do you see? There are two people. We already know that they are a married couple and that they are at home in their small, old apartment. But let's add some more detail. Look closely. What do you see inside their home? What can you say about it? That's right. They have many things. They don't have much space. Do you know any other ways to say these things? Let's try some more advanced vocabulary. Another word for things that belong to someone is possessions. And a lack of space can be described as cramped or crowded. Or, when the space feels small because of too many things, we can say it's packed. So, let's use possessions and packed. Can you make a sentence describing the apartment? Good. The apartment was packed with their possessions. Next, let's move on to emotions. Look carefully at their faces. How do they feel? You can say they are sad. However, native speakers will often be less direct and use a negative. For example, when asked, "How are you?" many people will respond with, "Not bad," instead of, "I'm good." Using this type of negative in your storytelling can give it some variety and make it seem more natural. So you can say they are not happy. Let's make the sentence. Notice how I didn't end the sentence there. Instead of using many short sentences, I will connect the ideas together to make longer sentences to smoothly express the ideas. Next, look at the speech bubble. You should include all speech bubbles in your story. In this picture, who is speaking? That's right, the woman. Let's use quoted speech to include her statement. I'll connect it to the first part of the sentence. The couple was not happy, and the woman said, "We should move to a larger place." Now let's move on to panel 2. Always start with any text that gives time or location information. This will help your transition. So our next sentence will start with 1 year later. Now look at the picture. What happened 1 year later? Where is the couple? Yes, they are in their new apartment. Their old apartment was small and old. In contrast, this apartment is large. And where is the new apartment? It's on the top floor of a new building. How do we know it's a new building? Check out those sparkles. Anyway, let's make the sentence. They moved to a large condominium on the top floor of a new building. Wait a minute. Condominium? Do you know that word? If not, it's another word for an apartment. However, we use this word to show ownership. This means that the couple bought the apartment. They are not renting anymore. How do we know this? We don't. It's okay to use your own ideas and make some guesses about the story as you tell it. Next, let's describe the inside of the apartment. What can you say about it? Here's an example. The apartment was very sunny and had a good view out over the town. Now, don't forget your speech bubble. You can just use reported speech to include this information. Just a minute. Let's do a quick review of reported versus quoted speech. Quoted speech is easy. It's probably what you're most familiar with. First, identify your speaker. In this case, it's the woman. What did she do? She said, and next we just add the exact text from the speech bubble. In writing, we use quotation marks to show that it is exactly what she said. You don't have to worry about that when speaking, though. Additionally, you can add more information by including not just the speaker, but the listener. In this case, it's her husband. See how we did that? By using told, we can include the listener. More difficult is reported speech, but this is more commonly used by native speakers, so you should practice and get used to using it. In reported speech, the storyteller, that's you, is the one speaking, so we need to change the text in the speech bubble. Use the information the woman gives and explain it from your point of view. We becomes they. You are looking at a completed situation, so made becomes had made. They had made a great choice. To make a story more interesting, we can also include emotions when sharing speech. For example, instead of talking, someone might be shouting or yelling, or maybe they're cheering or whispering. Using these types of words can help convey more information about the characters and events in your story. They can be used with both quoted and reported speech. So, let's get back to our story. Right now, we've finished panels 1 and 2. So let's move on to panel 3. Same as before, we'll start with the time phrase written on the panel. What happened several months later? Make sure you pay attention to some key points like text and lines. The text can give you vocabulary hints, like construction, and the lines give more information about the picture. They might indicate that the buildings are new or that the people inside them are surprised. How you interpret them is up to you. Now, take a moment to look at the picture and think of what to say. Do you have an idea? Remember, on the exam, you'll need to think quickly. So let's look at a sample. Several months later, construction began on a number of new buildings very close to the couple's condominium. The new buildings were very tall. Is that similar to what you thought of? Finally, let's go to panel 4. We're almost done. Again, let's start with that text from the panel. Now look at the buildings. Look at the people. What has happened? How do they feel? Pay attention to small details like the shadow. Take a minute to look at the situation. Okay, let's go. If you need more time, you can pause the video here and think a little bit more. Then come on back. We'll start with what we can physically see. 2 years later, the buildings had been completed. Next, let's talk about emotions. The couple was disappointed. Why were they disappointed? They were disappointed to find that they no longer had a view from their living room window. And let's give some more details and make it longer. And that most of the sunlight they had enjoyed was now blocked off by the tall building right in front of theirs. There you have it, your completed story. Remember, you have 1 minute to think of all this information and 2 minutes to tell the story. It's not easy. You need to practice, practice, practice. Right now, try reading this story out loud. Do your best to read it smoothly and at a good pace. You can time yourself if you'd like. Don't forget to pause the video here so that you have all the time you need. Good luck, and see you next video.